The United States half dollar of 1990 bearing the Philadelphia P. mint mark is a continuation of the famous Kennedy half-dollar series that began in 1964, following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. This coin, minted in 1990, carries immense historical and cultural importance, not only because of its role in American numismatics, but also as a symbol of national memory and patriotism. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced as a tribute to the 35th President of the United States, who inspired a generation with his leadership and ideals. By 1990, the series had already been in circulation for over 25 years, and the design had become one of the most recognized in U.S. coinage. The 1990 P. Kennedy half-dollar represents a modern circulation coin that bridges the past reverence for Kennedy with the practical monetary needs of the late 20th century. In terms of physical characteristics, the coin is struck in a copper-nickel clad composition rather than the 90% silver alloy used in the very first 1964 issues. The clad coinage system, introduced by the Coinage Act of 1965, was meant to address silver shortages and the rising value of precious metals. As such, the 1990 P half-dollar consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to an inner core of pure copper. The coin weighs 11.34 grams, measures 30.6 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge, which helps deter counterfeiting and clipping. These specifications are consistent across Kennedy half-dollars minted for circulation from 1971 onward. The obverse design, created by Chief Engraver Gilroy Roberts, depicts a left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, instantly recognizable to millions of Americans. Kennedy's image is bold yet graceful, emphasizing his youthful vigor, charisma, and enduring presence in American history. Above the portrait is the word liberty, while the national motto, "In God We Trust," is inscribed in two segments, within God on the left and We Trust on the right, just beneath Kennedy's chin. The year 1990 is centered below the neckline, indicating the date of issue. On coins struck at Philadelphia, a small P mint mark is placed just above the date, though the Philadelphia Mint had not always used a mint mark in earlier years. By the late 20th century, however, it became standard practice. The reverse design, created by Frank Gasparo, is a modified adaptation of the presidential seal of the United States. It features a heraldic eagle with wings outstretched, clutching an olive branch in its right talon and a bundle of arrows in its left, symbolizing the nation's commitment to peace, as well as readiness for defense. Above the eagle's head is a ring of stars, representing the original 13 colonies, encircling a shield and topped by a glory of rays. The inscriptions include United States of America around the upper rim and half-dollar along the lower rim. This design reinforces the Kennedy half-dollar's identity as both a circulating medium and a national emblem. The Philadelphia Mint, where the 1990 P half-dollar was produced, struck more than 48 million examples of this coin. This makes it a common date in the Kennedy series, meaning that while it is not scarce in terms of mintage, its historical role and the iconic design still give it appeal to collectors. The Philadelphia facility, which had been minting coins since 1792, was the primary source of U.S. coinage, and in 1990 it produced massive numbers of circulating coins to meet the needs of commerce. However, it is important to note that by the 1990s, the half-dollar denomination had already fallen out of regular circulation in everyday transactions. Most Americans rarely encountered half-dollars in daily life, as vending machines, cash registers, and general consumer habits favored quarters, dimes, and dollar bills. As a result, many of the 1990 Kennedy half-dollars went directly into storage at banks, coin bags, or rolls, with fewer actually being seen in circulation. From a collector's standpoint, the 1990 P half-dollar is widely available in circulated condition and carries only face value when heavily worn. In higher grades, such as mint state, MS, condition, its value increases modestly, especially in grades MS, 65 and above, where luster, strike quality, and surface preservation make a noticeable difference. Collectors often seek out pristine examples for inclusion in Kennedy half-dollar date and mint-mark sets. Some coins from 1990 also exist in proof form, struck at the San Francisco Mint with deep cameo contrast, though these are separate issues from the Philadelphia business strikes. For the 1990 P circulation strikes, values generally remain affordable, making it an accessible entry point for beginners in the hobby. Nevertheless, coins graded at superb gem levels, MS 67 and higher, can carry significant premiums since very few circulation strikes survive without bag marks or blemishes. The next top. The United States Bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar, inscribed with the dual date 1776 to 1976 and carrying the mint mark D for the Denver Mint, represents one of the most recognizable and historically symbolic coins issued in the modern era of American numismatics. This coin was created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and it stands as both a functional circulating currency and a patriotic collectible. First struck in 1975, but bearing only the 1776 to 1976 dual date rather than an individual year of mintage, the bicentennial half-dollar was part of a larger coinage program authorized by Congress that also included the Washington quarter and the Eisenhower dollar. Unlike the regular Kennedy half-dollar, which had been in circulation since 1964, this commemorative version carried a new reverse design created by artist Seth G. Huntington, who won the National Design Competition with his depiction of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the site where the Declaration was debated and adopted. The obverse retained Gilroy Roberts's portrait of John F. Kennedy, originally designed following the president's tragic assassination in 1963, but modified slightly to include the dual date at the bottom rather than a single year. The D mint mark signifies production at the Denver Mint, one of the primary mints of the United States, which struck hundreds of millions of these half-dollars for general circulation. The coin's specifications align with the clad half-dollars of its era. Struck in a copper-nickel composition bonded to a pure copper core, the circulating version weighs 11.34 grams, has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, and a reeded edge. Special collector versions, however, were struck in 40% silver as part of proof and uncirculated bicentennial coin sets marketed by the U.S. Mint. These silver-clad coins weigh slightly more, 11.5 grams, and carry a richer tone, appealing to collectors who valued not just the design, but the intrinsic silver content. In both copper-nickel and silver issues, the obverse is dominated by the left-facing profile of Kennedy, representing continuity and national unity, while the reverse's detailed engraving of Independence Hall is flanked by inscriptions such as 200 Years of Freedom and E Pluribus Unum. Huntington's reverse design was notable for balancing architectural detail with symbolic resonance, reminding Americans of the historic setting where liberty was proclaimed. The issuance of bicentennial coinage was more than a monetary exercise. It was part of a sweeping national celebration that included parades, fireworks, and cultural events leading up to July 4, 1976. Millions of Americans saved the special coins as keepsakes, meaning that despite their large mintages, many remain in uncirculated or lightly circulated condition today. The Denver Mint struck over 287 million bicentennial half-dollars, making the D version common in absolute terms, but still highly collectible due to its historical significance. Collectors often distinguish between circulation strikes, mint set coins, proof strikes from San Francisco, and the aforementioned 40% silver editions, with the latter commanding premium value depending on condition. Errors and varieties also intrigue specialists. Misstrikes, double dies, and off-center strikes can significantly raise a coin's desirability. While most circulated examples hold only face value or a small numismatic premium, high-grade, uncirculated, and certified specimens, especially those with deep cameo contrast in proof sets, are more valuable. Beyond its monetary aspects, the 1776 to 1976 half-dollar serves as a cultural artifact that encapsulates American identity during the bicentennial. At a time when the nation was emerging from the turmoil of the Vietnam War and grappling with the Watergate scandal, the bicentennial offered a unifying moment of reflection on the ideals of liberty, independence, and resilience. The decision to keep Kennedy's portrait on the obverse rather than replace it with another historical figure underscored his enduring symbolic role as a modern champion of freedom and progress. The reverse's focus on Independence Hall emphasized not just the Founding Fathers, but the very place where democratic principles were enshrined. This balance between past and present helped ensure that the coin was embraced both as everyday change and as a cherished reminder of national pride. For modern collectors, studying the bicentennial half-dollar reveals the broader story of how the U.S. Mint approached commemorative designs in the late 20th century. Unlike one-year commemoratives that later became common, the bicentennial coins circulated widely, ensuring that nearly every American encountered them. This wide distribution cemented their place in collective memory, and for many, the sight of a bicentennial half-dollar evokes nostalgia for the mid-1970s, a period of both challenge and celebrat.